embarrassing results last night for both Rangers and Manchester United. This is usually like the preview show of the weekend, but after last night, I think we start it with those games there with Rangers and Manchester United, and I think I want to group them both together because I think they're really in the same spots as clubs at the moment. Just obviously different leagues, different kind of situations, but I don't think they're both far off. Let's start with Rangers because that's a shocker of a defeat last night. I mean, 6 goals conceded at a professional level, not good. To be quite honest, is anybody shocked that Rangers have not qualified for the Champions League? I just don't. Rangers have been sliding for the last couple of years, and I know they've had a good couple of Europa League runs, and I think that's exactly the level that they're at. I think that's where they're at, and I think the problem is with the history and the culture of a club, and I've been through this with Liverpool, is the fans expect you to be there at the top end. Quite right. No problem with that at all. But when you're going through these time periods, there's a disconnect, and it's really hard for the fans to understand and accept where you're at. And I think that's exactly the same for Rangers as it is for Manchester United. Look, before the game last night, this stat came up, and Russell Martin was obviously at Southampton, so I've seen his Southampton team a lot in the Premier League, right? Before the game last night, Rangers faced 132 shots in 9 games. 132 shots in 9 games. That's exactly like a Southampton side were. They were just so open and just constantly getting peppered at the goal. And it just it doesn't work. Look, I put up a video, and I said in one of my videos the other day about what it is that you really need to do as a manager. And I think that's winning, right? And Russell Martin does say that. They asked him in his press conference after the game, how do you get the fans back on board? How do you get the players on board? Win football matches. That's what he said. We need to win games. He's saying that, but you're not doing it, right? Listen, I coached for 10 years. I think I started coaching when I was 16 years old, volunteering just locally in North Berwick before eventually going out to California and kind of coaching in the youth level, doing a little bit towards the end with some pro players, kind of one-to-one private training sessions, group session, things like that. But let's just talk about the kind of group, actual team coaching stuff. We've been in an era probably since about 2010-ish. When's that really good Barcelona team? 2009, 2010? That whole Pep Barcelona team that inspired me to get into coaching as well, right? They did inspire me to get into coaching, and it's inspired a lot of people to get into coaching. And they were brilliant. They were absolutely amazing to watch. You go back and you watch them on YouTube. It was absolutely sensational. And then obviously what comes to that is people then want to follow that. It inspires them. They want to get into the game. But a lot of times what happens is not a full understanding of what that style actually is, right? And you become copycats. And I'm just using the example of where I was out in America, right? Lots of great coaches, lots of great ideas. You're learning off of people, lots of different cultures. I loved it. And to be honest, I realized at about 25, when I eventually decided it wasn't for me anymore, I didn't have what it took to be a coach in the youth game due to the politics off the field, and I didn't want to pursue a coaching career, trying to go to the higher level. I just knew it wasn't for me. I was in a different phase of life, different person. But one thing I've seen a lot of was a lot of people come along with a lot of fancy coaching sessions, with a lot of equipment, colourful hurdles, colourful cones, skill shots, goal shots, the parachutes that you run with, that you see, all of these things, right? Great. They all have a reason. They all have a purpose. And I used to watch these people, and, people about, wow, look at the training, it looks so good and everything like that. And don't get me wrong, I was like, that looks fun. I'd like that as a player, probably. It looks good. Then it would come to the games, and these teams would have the ball, and they would knock it around the back and into the midfield, and it was great, and the other team couldn't really get the ball. And these coaches used to get praised, and they used to get paid like $8,000 to $10,000 a month for these 2 or 3 teams that they coached because of how they played, and people were in awe. They struggled to score goals, and when they didn't have the ball, they didn't know what to do. They were so open, and yet this whole mirage, this whole facade of how they passed the ball and how the coach spoke and all these things seemed to outweigh, at the end of the day, what it's really about, and that is all of that plus winning. Now, I know when you're coaching kids and stuff like that, winning's not the end all and be all, But even at that time, if you're not winning as a coach, I'll tell you right now, the parents are going to come to you and they're going to have a go at you and you're going to have a nightmare. So look, it's not the same as like Rangers and Real Madrid and Liverpool and Man United and whatever. I totally get that, but football is football. Football is football. Like we overcomplicate it. We put all these buzzwords in. We do all these things, and like we're just in an era. We've been in an era with all these managers. They talk and they want to play this open, expansive football. Your team is getting pumped. You're losing games. It's not working. Look, Vincent Kompany gets the Bayern Munich job off of what he did at Burnley. Now, there's a part of me that's like, he stuck to his principles. Absolutely fair play to the guy, right? You got to respect someone that does that. But wow, Burnley relegated and that guy goes to Bayern Munich. I know they won the league and everything last season, but let's see how he does overall, right? I mean, again, Bundesliga, Bayern Munich should be winning that, for example. But I watch the managers nowadays and there's just a lot of words and I'm like, that sounds really good. I've said Russell Martin speaks really well. I've said Ruben Amorim, I think, speaks well. But then I'm watching your team on the pitch and like, I'm not seeing anything that you're saying translate across. You're not winning football matches. Like, I'm all for time and everything like that and giving managers time and I understand philosophies and styles and all the things I'm talking about need to be embedded. And I think there is a big myth, and I'm going to do a video on this in the break here that I'll get up. I think there's a myth of these concept, this idea of like, this whole project time of like Jurgen Klopp was given time at Liverpool, for example. I think that's the big one. He was a project, like what he did over 5 years. You guys, we were winning games. We got to a Europa League final. I know we lost the final, but we were winning games. We got there. You could see what was happening. It wasn't just like his style, but not winning. Like, we won games. That's what got the belief back in the fans. There was fans walking out of Anfield in one of his first few games that we got beaten. It's not like he won every single game, but we were winning games, right? There was a clear, obvious improvement there. Just to use that as the example, right? Because that's the one that's I know for a fact. I've seen and I watched it grow and progress. There's a falsehood in this whole philosophy stuff. It is about winning, especially if you're Rangers, especially if you're Manchester United. And look, he's what's that? What's Russell Martin had? 10 games, as I just said there. Like that's not a lot of time, right? But you have to hit the ground running, mate. You have to hit the ground running in Glasgow. And the problem that Rangers have, and it's the same in Man United, is the fans are fed up of where they are at. You don't have time to embed a philosophy style of football. They want to see you fucking win, right? That's what you need to go in there and do. And look, I just don't think the players are responding to Russell Martin. Let's just stick on him for a minute. I really don't. I mean, it's obvious, right? It's obvious. I think that the level last night is a higher level for Rangers. I don't think they're there, right? Sorry, but I really don't. And look, he says there's not enough harmony or care for each other quite yet. There's not enough players that want to fight for the club yet. The harmony's been disrupted. Like, he's walking into a tough environment. You know, supporters are calling for his head. He said he's not worried for his job. He says the owners are supportive, all of that stuff. But I mean, Sunday is absolutely massive, isn't it? Sunday is absolutely massive for them in the Old Firm game. And look, there's a high chance that they can go and win that. There's a high chance. You're at home. It's the Old Firm. The fans will still be up for it. It's not like Celtic are great, especially going forwards. I think the problem in that game, if we just let's get into kind of the preview stuff now, as I rambled on about that kind of winning philosophy. I think the issue in that game is that both teams aren't great going forwards. I think the game's going to be won and lost in the middle of the park, and Celtic's midfield's better than Rangers. Celtic midfield is better than Rangers. That's Celtic's strongest area of the pitch for me. So, you know, I think we might see a bit of a tight one. I think we might see a 1-1 draw for that personally, and I think that Russell Martin would take that. If he loses that game, he's in a lot of trouble. Now, if the owners stick with him, all right, whatever, fair play. Again, I'm all for giving managers time. I'm never going to come on these videos and say that someone should be sacked. I'm just going to say what I see. At the moment, it's not working. You've got your biggest game against your biggest rivals. I mean, what are we sitting at? Rangers it's 3 games in. You've got 3 points. So you're sitting 7th, and Celtic have played 3-1-3. They're on 9, right? So Celtic would go to 12, and you'd be sitting on 3 points. So you're 9 points behind Celtic. You can pretty much much call that one off. Like, as poor as everyone's going on about Celtic and the issues they're having in that, they win domestically. They beat Livingston 3-0 comfortably last week. Livingston, who I think will actually be all right in the league. That's who Hearts have this weekend. I mean, if he loses that, he could go. And, there's a lot of stuff going on with Celtic too, with Brendan Rodgers and everything like that. But again, what's saving Brendan Rodgers is they continue to win domestically, right? They continue to do that. They kind of know they're going to get the league in there. So, look, it's a huge one. I can't wait to watch it. I'm going to be through in Prestwick for it. My girlfriend's auntie's having her 60th through there, so I'm going to get to watch that. I'm going to pop to the pub and watch that game at 12 o'clock before we go to the party, because it's going to be really interesting to see how the Rangers players respond, especially if Celtic get on top of them, if Celtic get an early goal, like what's going to happen. Are they going to completely collapse? It could be a really, really, really toxic Ibrox, which it kind of already is. And that's the job of the man, Russell Martin, at the moment, to change the culture. That's the biggest thing, is to change the culture. And I know that's another buzzword, as I've just said, but you do it by winning games, mate. You do it by winning games. So, huge game. I'm going 1-1. Let me know your predictions for that one if in the comments and everything like that. I think the next interesting game for me is Livy against Hearts. Livingston, I like Davy Martindale. I think they do really well. Hearts, obviously, with an amazing comeback against a very, very, very good Motherwell side last Saturday at Tynecastle. So, look, Hearts are sitting second. They're on 7 points right now. There's a lot. Tony Bloom's come out and said everything that he said about Hearts looking to break the old firm. And look, there's a chance there, guys. There's a chance. Hearts, Hibs, in there. Motherwell, if they continue to play well, there is a chance right now that if Russell Martin doesn't improve, if the managers or if the owners, stick with him and things don't improve and they keep sticking with him, and then all of a sudden they pull the trigger. Look, they've bought players for Russell Martin, and the players aren't really great either, are they? They've bought players for him, so even if they get rid of the manager, it's another opportunity. I know we said this last season in Aberdeen and there was the buzz and it didn't happen, and it might be the same case again, but there is a window and someone needs to jump in there and try and do it. And I think for right now, it's the two Edinburgh sides that look like they could do it within Hearts and Hibs. Aberdeen have got their whole Europe thing going on. I know Hibs play tonight in Europe as well, and best of luck to them, but there is a moment there. So it's a big game for Hearts, especially because Rangers have got Celtic, and if Rangers get beat, right, we put Hearts go to 10 points, Rangers are on 3. Hearts have got a 7-point gap there, and a little bit of a cushion even after 4 games. So big game there, Livy Hearts. Looking forward to that one. Score prediction. I think Hearts aren't controlling games at the moment. I think they'll win though. I think they'll get away with the win there. I don't know if they'll concede. I might go 2-0 to Hearts. 1 or 2-0 to Hearts there, I think. That's what I'm going to go for. Quickly move down to Motherwell, who, again, were absolutely outstanding at Tynecastle the other week. It's really good having Andy Halliday on Open Goal, because he talks so well, and he gives little insights into what the coach says and does like that, without giving anything away. And the players are buzzing. They've dominated games. I know what they're only sitting on 3 points after 3 games, 3 draws, but they've had a tough start, and this isn't an easy game either. At home at Kilmarnock, who will be a tough one. So a big chance for Motherwell to go there and get 3 points. I'm intrigued to. I've favoured them on my live score. I'm going to keep an eye on them and watch them a little bit more, because it's an interesting start for them as the manager. We then go into Sunday in the Scottish games. We've got the Dundee derby. I've been to one of those. I went to Tannadice to watch Dundee United against Dundee. It was 3-3, I'm pretty sure, and Johnny Russell got sent off for a shocking challenge. That was as soon as he did it, oh God Christ, that's a straight red. Hell of a game, and those Dundee derbies tend to turn up with good games. I'm not going to be able to catch that one, unfortunately. I'm going to be at my girlfriend's auntie's party, but I'll be keeping an eye on that. I'll get the highlights and everything like that. Aberdeen play Falkirk. Obviously, Aberdeen have got their game tonight, and best of luck to them as well. So we'll see how they're kind of been struggling to balance it. They've played 2, they've lost 2 in the league. Obviously, it's Hearts and Celtic, so it's 2 tough games for them there. Falkirk, one of the lower teams. You maybe expect Aberdeen to get a win, but Falkirk have been putting up a fight. And then a final intriguing game for the Scottish game is Hibs against St Mirren, and Hibs have been great. Again, they've got Europe tonight. St Mirren as well have been impressive. They've been difficult to play against. They obviously get the 1-1 draw against Rangers, and that's at 5:45 on no, that's not on 5:45. Apologies, that's 3 o'clock on Sunday. I was scrolling after the international break there. So yeah, there's a few good games there in the Scottish League. There's actually a few better games in the Scottish League this weekend rather than the Premier League, I would say there. So it's the big one. It's the big one on Sunday. It's always a big one, but it's absolutely massive for Russell Martin. And even if Rangers can get a win, it's not going to bode well for Brendan Rodgers. So let's move on to the Prem. And look, I want to start with United because I just talked a lot about Russell Martin and Amorim, and I think they're in the same boat. Amorim's talking well. Everything's about his system. Everything's about how he looks to play. All that type of stuff. He kept saying last night that the players spoke really loud for me. I wonder what he means by that. Is he saying that they're throwing him under the bus? Like, I don't know. It was really, really interesting, but he said it's not something he's seen before. And look, defeats in cup games can happen, right? You can get short cup defeats. It does happen. But again, it's the moment United are in. There's already fuel on the fire. You're just pouring more on there. It's not like he rotated too heavily. Look, I agree with him. He said, look, it's the goalkeeper shouldn't have to make a lot of saves in a game like this. He should be playing with his feet. If you know, we're Man United and they're 3 levels below us or whatever. I totally agree with him, but God, Onana's just gone. It's like Karius after the Champions League. He's gone. I mean, he couldn't save any of those penalties. He should have saved about 3 of them. He's poor for certainly the second goal. Look, that's a huge problem for them, goalkeeper Man United. Like, again, I'm going to use my Liverpool example. I've seen it with Simon Mignolet, and I've seen it with Karius, as I just said. If your keeper's going to drop them in the net, I've already said it on one of my videos, the whole team's nervy because all the other team needs is half a chance and one shot, and you feel like your keeper's going to drop it in, and it feeds to the whole team, and they need to solve that. And look, I think you live and die by your decisions. I think you got to build from the back. He has tried to add goals in, which I totally get with Mbeumo and Cunha, and again, I think they're really good signings. And Mbeumo obviously gets a goal last night, but you kind of live and die by your decisions as a manager. And I think goalkeeper is a huge position that he's not gone and addressed. I mean, look, he's the same as Russell Martin. He mentioned the environment last night, Ruben Amorim. And since I've walked in, the environment here, and every Man United manager has said it, and it's like, Jesus, I don't know how long he's going to make it. He spent a lot of money. Look, I think they go and beat Burnley this Saturday. I think they'll go to Old Trafford and they'll beat Burnley 2 or 3-0. Maybe they can see the goal. I do think they'll beat Burnley. Even after that, then they can go to the international break. They can reset. They can kind of go back through it again. But look, if they don't, it's not been a good record for him. And like I said, at the end of the day, you can talk about shaping a system and a style of play. It's about winning, mate. It's about winning. And at Man United, the fans are really fed up. And again, Man United, same as Rangers. You're buying all these players for this system and the shape. That's a tough shape to coach. Not a lot of people do it. Not a lot of people play it. Where'd you go from there if you get rid of Amorim? Because then you're going to have to restart again and get players out that then suit another manager's system who's not likely to play the 3 at the back and go for what he's going for. And yeah, they're both in a real mess. It's a circus for both. And look, as much as I'm a Liverpool fan and I find it funny with United, I don't have any skin in the game with Rangers in the Old Firm. I've actually got family that are Rangers fans, so, you know, and friends, so I actually would quite like them to do all right, but it's a circus for both of you guys right now, and it's not looking good, and it's not looking like it's going to get better anytime soon. Let's just dive straight into 4:30 on Sunday in the Premier League. It's Liverpool-Arsenal, because like I say, there's not a ton of big fixtures coming up in here. Just mind me to have a little sip of my coffee here. Liverpool get the last minute winner at St James's. Massive. Probably got away with one. There's problems for Liverpool. Problem is set pieces. One of them. We're quite a small team. Van Dijk did really well against Newcastle. We know what Arsenal are going to do. They're going to look to play for those set pieces, and I worry for Liverpool a little bit. I think my big worry for this game, as a Liverpool fan, and it'll be intriguing to see how it plays out, is if it's tight, which I expect it to be, come around the 60th minute when you're thinking about making your subs. Arsenal have added a lot of depth. Arsenal have added decent depth. And Liverpool at the moment, the subs are having to bring off the bench Elliott, Chiesa. I like both of them. Slot didn't fancy them last year. He didn't fancy them last year, and it did feel a little bit like in the Newcastle game he wanted to keep that 11 on for as long as he possibly could, and I felt like that as a fan. I didn't really want anyone to come on. So if it's tight, I worry a little bit there for Liverpool. If they can use Anfield and harness it, get a goal up, get 2-0 up maybe, do that early, but they've been poor at sitting on 2-0 leads. So it's going to be a huge one. I'll be chucking that on at the party. I've already said that to my girlfriend. That'll be getting launched on at the party on the telly. Apologies about that, but it will be. Can't miss that. So I don't know. Maybe I have a sticky feeling Arsenal get out there with a 1-0 win. But if not, I'm going to go 1-1 just because I think Arsenal without Saka a little less blunt. I think Van Dijk will like playing against Gyökeres. 1-0 Arsenal, maybe a 1-1. I've got to go 1-1. I can't say Liverpool are going to lose, can I? 1-1. I'm going to go 1-1 there at Anfield. But interested in just a little bit of a marker to set down. And look, Arsenal can potentially come away from Old Trafford and Anfield within the first 3 games without losing and tick those off the list for the season and not have to go there again. And that would be huge for them. And I like the signing of Eze. I expect him to play on Sunday. So let's see it. That's going to be an interesting one. The next one, I think Leeds Newcastle is big just because it's Ellen Road. And, Newcastle have just lost Gordon for 3 games. Joe Linton didn't look good. Tonali didn't look good. We'll see in the press conferences whether they're fit to play. Obviously, Isak's still looming over them. Could he be gone? Could have gone in by Saturday? Who fucking knows? So that's an intriguing one there. I think Newcastle I think Newcastle will have enough, but it's going to be quite deflating. I don't know. Leeds might nick it. Leeds are poor though. Farke's poor. I know they're playing at Ellen Road. I'm actually going to go for a draw there as well. I'm sitting on the fence with a few of these. I think there's going to be a lot of draws this weekend. I'm going to go a draw there for Leeds against United. Brighton and City, 2 o'clock as well. That's not an easy game for City. Everyone was buzzing about them. 4-0 against Wolves. They showed last weekend against Spurs that maybe all's not rosy in the garden, and Brighton are an interesting team and they'll look to come and play and they'll look to try and get at you. So I'm intrigued and looking forward to seeing that one as well. You got Chelsea Fulham at 12:30. Fulham just kind of, like we said, samey, but they'll be difficult to play against. I can see a lot of draws this weekend, guys. I can see a lot of draws. Spurs Bournemouth 3 o'clock. That would be a good game. Both teams will be quite expansive. Both teams will be quite tight. Both teams will like to go forwards. That'll be really interesting. Forest against West Ham. Forest might be my LMS pick this week. I was going to go Man United. I still think I probably will, but Forest home at West Ham. I know there's a bit of noise around Nuno, but like I say, I think Graham Potter's in trouble. We've got a 7 o'clock game with Villa Palace on Saturday night. Wolves and Everton are in there. Sunderland, Brentford. So look, there's not like it. There's interesting fixtures in different ways. There's just not massive games as we've had in the first couple of weeks, bar Liverpool, Arsenal. And apologies to the other fans of their teams. I just mean those big names that are at the top of the league table. It doesn't mean other games aren't big, but I'm just going for a lot of draws this weekend. I am. I've rambled a lot there. My winning and philosophy rant at the start kind of actually made me a little lightheaded. So look, I think that'll do us for this one. As always, the weekend breakdowns on the subscription service. Sign up to that, £5 a month. Those guys are going to get these videos that I'm going to do over the course of the break. I'm going to do one on the myth of managers and building time. And then I'm going to do another one that I think is going to be like the football food chain and just having a look at the top guys and how they're buying the players from other teams and, kind of headlined by the whole Isak saga at Newcastle and how Newcastle's fans feel about it. So subscribers will get those early before they drop on YouTube. As always, there's a fantasy league in there. Again, I know we're a couple of weeks in, but if you want to join, there's a cash prize pot of £100 with a view to grow it. Got about 9 or 10 people in there already, which is great. And yeah, let's enjoy it because then we're at the international break and it's the worst international break ever. And it's not too long though. It's only 1 weekend. We're back after it. So that's going to do it for me. I feel like I'm about to pass out. As always, until the next one, peace.